Okay, it's 4 o'clock by my phone, so I think we'll go ahead and call the July Planning Commission meeting to order. I'm Chairperson Mayor Zach Bruink. Todd, you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Todd Furkey, District 2 Alderman.
Joe Eichstead, Secretary to the Planning Commission.
Shane Burkhart, Commission Member.
Adam Taken, Planning and Economic Development Director.
Phil Pinkusky from WR Cold Storage.
Bailey Bushman from Bushman Sign.
Gary Wolf with Applied Industrial Technologies.
Tom Altman with Altman Construction.
Excellent. Thank you all for being here. We'll move into item 1 on our agenda, which is approval of the report from the June 1st Planning Commission meeting. Commissioners, what are your wishes regarding the report of the Planning Commission?
Make a motion that we accept and place on file.
We have a motion to approve by Todd. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Shane. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Item 2 is maps and plats received. There are no other maps or plats received. Item 3 is a public hearing on Plan 150895 Bushman sign. The applicant is requesting a conditional use to allow an animated sign within the B2 General Commercial District. The subject property is located at 3411 8th Street South, which is parcel 3413461. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing on that request. I'd invite those wishing to speak in favor of the request to the opportunity to speak.
Okay.
To speak on that.
My customer, Ryan Ulbrich, who could not be here, he is, if you look at the drawing provided, I don't know if everybody has one of these.
Yep.
He has recently undergone a logo change. As you see, the top image is how his sign currently looked. We have since replaced the logo to look like the logo in the bottom, but he wanted to also add a digital reader board below in place of the one that's you see in the top image. The bottom image is the proposed sign. It is the visible area of the digital display is 2 foot by 7 foot, and it is full color LED. It will be mounted below that top cabinet. The actual sign will be raised just about 2 feet, just for clearance, so people wouldn't be able to mess with it. It'd be the same clearance as it currently is, which is a 4 by 8 cabinet. So we'd raise the pole a little bit and place that digital display below. He would advertise things such as promotions. He does a wide variety. His name, RCO Computers, doesn't really say everything he does. He does sales service, he does data recovery, backup, managed IT services. He also does iPod and iPad repair, broken screen repair. He is open to display things for the community on the display as well. So that's what we're looking to do.
Okay, anybody else wishing to speak in favor of the request? And for the third and final time, anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the request? All right, we'll move it to opposition. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition for the first, second time, and for the third time? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? With that, we'll close the public hearing. Move into item number 4, action on Plan 150895 Bushman sign. I guess I've got a question to start it off, and allow commissioners the opportunity as well. What is maybe a question for Adam? What is the allowed square footage total square footage of signage allowed on that property?
I believe it's 70 square feet, so they are just under the total.
Even with the addition
With the addition.
of the 2 by 7. Okay.
I don't have the exact number, but I want to say when I ran the numbers, they were just under.
Okay. I was just concerned that not only is there a conditional use for this type of sign that they would be over and invalidating the most recent sign ordinance. Okay.
No, if I can add to that, one of the reasons I did actually recommend approval of this is because it is a very small site, so they are limited on the amount of signage. I'm not a big fan of a huge electronic reader board just to scream out loud noises and things. So, but when you do have limited and you have a limited amount of frontage to try and capture the amount of traffic that is on A Street, something like this makes a little more sense for this type of business, in my opinion. So.
And I guess following up on the mayor's question, are they good on the height? Because we discussed that in, was it a few months ago when we were,
Let's see.
we talked about raising it up, so I just want to make sure that.
Yeah. Here it says it's going to stay the same, and you said you're going to raise it.
Yeah, I wasn't
Yeah, that
aware
was-
they were going to look at raising.
That was something that we discussed afterwards, and it's, I think right now it's currently, I mean, it's like 12 feet, maybe raised to 14 feet, so it's not very tall in the first place.
Yeah, if they're putting in any new heights or something like that, if it's over that amount, then we would require an engineer stamp, basically
Okay.
saying it meets wind loads.
Okay.
But total height can be equal to the building or 5 feet above, so they still would be under the maximum height
Okay.
easily. That would be on this property. The building on site is story with peak, so it's probably at least 15, so probably the maximum height would be around 20.
Yeah, and we're well below that.
Okay. Todd, do you have another question?
Actually, it was the same as his,
Same
you know,
question.
because there was two different informations, so.
Right. Yeah, I apologize. I just wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, I apologize too. It was something the customer was concerned about, it, you know, just the clearance of it. And it doesn't need to be raised if that's going to be an issue.
Well, I think if I could speak.
Please, yeah.
You know, when you talked about you didn't want people, you know, vandalizing it, playing with it, whatever, I mean, that certainly is a concern, I would think, too. You want to get it out of touchy
Harm's
height.
way.
Or, you know, somebody going up and bang their hands on it or whatever, because I would assume that's going to be quite a valuable piece of merchandise. So. What will the base of that animated sign, do you know the height that will be done? The base of the lower sign,
The base of the lower sign.
the bottom of the lower sign?
Oh, where will that be at?
Yeah.
Let's see, it's currently, I think we have it 12 feet.
4 and 2 and,
I think there's currently an 8-foot clearance, and we wanted to maintain that 8-foot clearance.
oh, sure, okay.
Yeah.
I think I understand the 5-second consideration. Is there a uniform standard to why 5 seconds was selected?
5 seconds is what was done for the last animated sign that went through, which was Cheryl Tire, actually, which was this firm as well. So that was the condition placed on there. And that's more to prevent the flashing and yet still allow it so that you could get potentially up to 2 messages probably for the average travel time
Okay.
on East Street past the sign. So.
All right. Commissioners, any other questions, comments?
I don't have any.
No. Okay. With that, I'd entertain a motion on the request.
A motion to approve it with the conditions of approval listed here by the staff report.
We have a motion to approve by Shane with the conditions included in the staff report. Is there a second?
I'll second, as long as we stay within the height requirements that you dictate, would still be within code.
It is for sure within the height requirement. Trying to think of what the height is that requires the stamp plan would be the only
I
difference.
can't remember that. I suggested the change.
12 feet, so if you do raise it, we will need something
Okay.
showing that it does meet ASCE-7.
Yes.
All right. We have a motion and second by Todd. Any further discussion? Seeing none, moving to a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Any opposed? None. That passes. Okay.
I have a question.
Please.
So he is, as far as displaying messages, he will have to follow that 5-second rule? Okay. There's not limitations to color or,
No.
and then there's no animation? It's just static 5 second?
The way I wrote it is if they want to have an animated, they can't be changing the message every
Okay.
5 seconds. So if they had like a waving American flag, let's
Okay.
say, for that would be
Yeah.
fine, but with the lettering staying the
You
same.
can't just- yeah, okay.
Not
So
just
it's gotta
constant
be there.
changing of the message.
Okay.
But the staff, the number 2 conditions, electronic message center shall not contain flashing or animated messages. So to your question about animation, I read that as there wouldn't be.
On the message, I guess it's up to the commission on how they want to, if they want me to clarify that further. But the way it was written was so it's the sign message is what has to remain static. If they want to have
The
some sort of
text.
animation behind it,
Oh, right.
like so if it says sale on computers and there's a waving flag behind it, that would be fine. But the sign, sale on computers would have to be in
The
place
actual
5
text has
seconds
to
and then
say,
change to we repair iPods
Right.
and then change. So
Okay, great.
that's the way it's written.
Okay.
Well,
So
thank you.
So you're looking to alleviate the Times Square scrolling message, is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Item 5, Plan 151074, Altman Construction. The applicant is requesting site plan approval for the construction of a 6,000 square foot industrial building within the M3 Industrial Park District. The subject property is located at 2211 Industrial Street, which is parcel 3400912. With that, applicant is present. Do you want to speak to your request, Tom?
Certainly, we have a tenant working on an agreement on the lease to move into this property. A little bit of timing is the essence of this project. It's got a deadline to be in there. So I'm here before you today, see if you guys will approve of this project. It's a 6,000 square foot warehouse and office facility. So
Any questions for the applicant? Out of curiosity, I'm always a big believer in establishing new standards where we can.
Sure.
So in terms of construction, it looks like it's just a pre-engineered metal.
Correct.
Metal construction.
Yeah.
The facade, would it have any treatments, landscaping? I know it's not necessarily in our purview, but I just asked the question.
everything's up for negotiation at this
Okay,
point.
perfect. All right. So I think you have to buy the property first, right?
Right.
All right. Okay, any other questions by commissioners?
I think there was some actual landscaping, a couple trees that you wanted planted and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But as far as the overall appearance of the building, I think it's...
Right. Just real quick, as far as staff recommendation, we are recommending approval, but I am recommending solely trying to get some trees out in the industrial park where we can. There are a few out there, but kind of a standard that I have seen in industrial parks, trying to get 1 tree per 10 parking spots, just so that there's a little bit of shade and or something other than concrete in buildings. So I am recommending that. This is a somewhat unusual situation, as was kind of hinted at. This is still city-owned property, and we're in negotiations with Mr. Altman for the purchase of this. And the goal would be to get that sale before the council this month as well, so that the site plan approval and sale would be approved at the same time. Normally, I would fight for higher building standards, in part because of the regulations found within our zoning code. However, this industrial park is approximately 90% built out, and not a single building in there meets our building requirements found within the industrial
New
park.
standards, that's why I say new standards.
So if this was East Side Industrial Park, which is still new and building out, I would push for at least an all masonry front elevation. But at least this has some masonry elements to it, which is at least a nod in the direction of what is there. It still is higher standard than many buildings out there. So that's why I was okay with it as proposed.
There is 1 tree on the site. Depending on where the driveway lays out, that one may need to be removed, but I'm sure we can replace it.
Sure. It's next to the railroad spur, and we have
Yeah.
CN money to plant trees, so maybe we can work something out.
Sure.
Something there. Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Comments, further comments, Adam, on your standpoint?
No, I think we're,
Covered the paving requirement.
yeah. didn't receive any pushback on. It's required that any new vehicle use areas basically be paved, so. Obviously, most likely this would run into the stormwater easement that is running on the property and take it to the city pond, which is immediately south.
Yeah,
So
I'll see that.
stormwater should not be a concern on this site.
Great. It's an exciting project. I'd make a motion to approve the request with the staff, subject to the staff conditions of approval, and obviously there's further conversation on the sale of the property anyway. Looking for a second on that.
I'll second.
Second by Todd. To approve. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none. Moving to a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Moving to item number 6 on our agenda, which is Plan 151096. Phil Pinikowski. The applicant is requesting site plan approval for the construction of a 40,000 square foot industrial building addition within the M3 Industrial Park District. Subject property is located at 801 21st Avenue North. Phil, you're here for your request. Would you like to speak to your request to the commission?
Yes, I guess, we bought the property there, and we're going to attach into our freezer, and we're going to build a cooler. There'll be a cooler and a processing building out there. It'll have the same panels as our freezer.
We've got the updated site plan in front of us with the modifications that were made there. Commissioners, anything further, Phil, before I open it up for commission discussion?
Nothing that I can think of.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any discussion?
What, sure.
Sure, please, Todd.
What was the reasoning for the footprint change as far as the loading docks and stuff like that?
Yes, we changed the loading docks. So they come in straight to the building instead of off of the screw.
And so those will be in the middle of the parking rather than having your parking on the, before we had it on the south? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, the major change between the one that was provided in the packet and this one is that loading docks went from angled to straight, and then the parking that was proposed between the building and the road has now moved to the west side of the building, and that number has reduced from, it was originally shown as 18 parking spots, it's down to 12. This brings it a little more into compliance with our zoning ordinance, actually. Our zoning ordinance encourages only visitor parking within the front yard setback and trying to move employee parking outside of that front yard setback. This gets a little bit closer to that, so the majority is out of that setback. It puts green space between the building and the street, which is another thing encouraged by our zoning ordinance. And be required, and this is when I was reviewing the ordinance for this, the 50-foot setback line is actually incorrect. It's actually a 37.5-foot setback, and that's because this parcel, you have to pick a front yard,
Right.
and the original use on this was addressed off of 21st Avenue, so that established front yard is actually 21st Avenue, which makes Industrial Street the corner side yard, which has a reduced setback.
Right.
So they will still need a variance, but it's taking it from 50 feet. I think they're showing a 28 foot, so instead of going from 50 feet down to 28 feet, the variance will actually be 37.5 feet down to 28 feet. So these last minute changes have actually reduced some of the initial concerns with the property.
And Phil, the overall appearance of the building is just going to be larger, correct?
Yes.
I mean, the panels, colors, everything.
Everything would be the same.
Is the building that's on there currently being demolished, or?
Yes, it will.
Okay.
There was a couple people interested in moving it, but I don't think that's going to happen, so.
And it may be a little confusing if you look at my location map, it's shown as 3 different parcels. It has since been combined into one large parcel. So those
Oh, yeah.
internal property lines do not exist any longer. Just our map, the county mapping hasn't quite caught up with that change.
I am glad to see the semi-loading area, on the west side of the building. I know on the east side of the building is a little bit of a concern to the city. So having some of that balance now with the expansion is a good thing. So I think that's a piece that I'm pleased to see in the site plan. Obviously, the job creation is a plus as well. You got to mention that as well. It looks like you're looking to employ through the expansion approximately 20 additional employees,
Yes.
Which is great. I've been in your operations, as you know, and run a great enterprise. It's very well kept up. Commissioners, any other questions or comments for the applicant? So the variance will happen,
Next Tuesday, it goes before the Board of Zoning Appeals.
oh, okay, very good.
That's not in this board's
Right.
purview.
Yeah, I just was wondering when that was going to be handled. Thank you.
You're looking for a motion?
I'll take a motion.
I would recommend approval of the site plan 15-1096 for the 40,000 square foot industrial building located at 801 21st Avenue North.
The motion to approve by Todd with the recommendation to approve with the conditions of approval. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Shane. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, moving to a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Thank you. So we'll move on to the next phase of your request to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Looks like a great project. When is construction going to start?
Well, we'd like to be going right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't mention that, he's already sold.
It'll be best.
Okay, great. So operationally this fall, you're thinking? Or how long is construction? Late fall?
It's going to be tight. I'm thinking maybe January,
Oh, okay. All right.
right now.
Good. Look forward to getting in there for a tour once you're up and running.
Sure can.
All right.
When is that variance? Next,
Tuesday at 1 p.m.
and then that's upstairs then?
Yes, yeah, that'll be next to our office.
Okay.
All right. Thanks again, Phil. We'll move into item 7, update on the zoning code rewrite process.
I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Guys, have a good night.
Adam, do you want to give the commission an update as to, I guess we're in full commission, so it doesn't have to be even a full update, more or less wanted to get this on our agenda just so folks may touch on part of it, but maybe for Shane's benefit.
Yeah, I've warned you that we're beginning the process of looking at completely, basically throwing out our existing zoning ordinance and writing a new one that will be more up to date, help support our comprehensive plan and other elements. So we did put out a request for proposals in May, basically requesting firms to solicit for the business. We got one response back, which was a little surprising. However, it was a strong proposal, so we did go ahead and set up an interview, and we did meet with them last week. So we're discussing at this point strategy on whether or not we'll move forward with that consultant, or if we will go back out for proposals. And then from there, obviously, the Plan Commission will be acting as the main driving force of that process. It's one of the main tenets of why there is a Plan Commission, is to create a zoning ordinance and those regulations. Our goal is to try and minimize the number of special meetings and that type of thing, but the goal would be to have meetings that are dedicated just to the zoning ordinance discussions, so that we're not dealing with regular business and then something is discussed for 45 minutes and pushes everything back. So we would likely be looking at some special meetings or even a pre-meeting. So if we're meeting at 4, if there's the possibility to meet for an hour beforehand or something like that, depending what will work best for schedules moving forward. But again, until we have a consultant on board, we won't have a formal process in front of you. But if we do decide to go with this consultant, we could have someone selected by August. Would probably be the plan council would approve, and then we'd be rolling it out this fall.
Do you have any idea why there was only one? Was it workload out on the consultants just couldn't hit the deadline, or was it they were afraid of the?
It could. There are some changes in state law that require really a planning consultant cannot create the legal ordinances anymore. Back in the day, planning consultants could pretty much do it and then just have a lawyer overlook it. Now they have to have a lot more involvement with a legal entity because the lawyer has to be the one creating the law. Is basically the state law in a nutshell. So I think that has taken some firms' interest out over even what was available 2 to 3 years ago. And the other aspect is probably just workloads. Either they have enough or it's just not something that they want to deal with anymore. I mean, we've been moving the process along, but we still gave, I believe it was almost 6 weeks to respond to the proposal, so it wasn't a super short time frame. I did have calls and questions from 2 or 3 other firms when it was open, so there was more interest. Some just chose not to move forward.
It was just interesting to have only one. And
Yeah, I was a little shocked, yeah.
From my consulting background, it's like something, either the proposal was scary or the workload was.
Probably a combination of both. It's a big project.
Yeah.
I mean, 18 to 24 months is the likely amount of time that is spent on this. So if you have work, it's a lot to redirect to focus on.
Well, and I think the consultant that, well, not necessarily just exclusive to this one consultant, but even the public involvement process too, and trying to figure out when we'll kick that off and the fun starts, you know. But I think it was interesting, this one interview we did with this one consultant, but in any of them really, I think we would want them to be a little bit creative given all the projects that are underway of how you talk about zoning in lieu of new development, you know, not so much the small redevelopments that occur and stuff like that.
Most definitely, this is our chance to be creative as opposed to taking what other people have already done with their ordinances and just doing a rinse and repeat. We want to be creative.
Yeah, definitely something that's customized to us, not an off-the-shelf where you change the name. So I've been through that process as well, and that doesn't work.
So we're hopeful that, I think the couple of us that were on the interview can connect or at least give the feedback. We just sent the email off today on that.
Yeah.
That was today.
That decision will come down from who? The city staff?
We'll recommend to council. Yeah.
It would go through finance just because it was a budgeted line item, but it is a substantial investment, so I went through finance. If you are interested in details on the proposal that we did get back, let me know.
Can you get an electronic copy of that you can email Shane?
I scanned it, I believe, so I can email it to you.
Maybe to the other commissioners too, if you feel. I mean, if we were thinking, I guess we'll maybe throw our heads together for 2 minutes before we leave here would be to give you some feedback for the meeting. Okay. Anything else on the rewrite?
Nope, just that's about it. Still moving forward.
Haven't kicked it off yet, so the work hasn't started, other than the interview.
That's why my hair isn't gray.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
We got a motion by Shane, second by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Thank you all for being here.
All right.